So here I am back as promised, and we did get to watch the Apple event, High Speed. So they did have that announcement at 1 o'clock, and it lasted about an hour, just a little bit over an hour. And I wanted to quickly go over what they announced and my thoughts on what they announced, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about what I'm going to have to decide on getting. So, first of all, they did announce the HomePod Mini. Well, actually, before talking about the HomePod Mini, they did have a great intro video. I thought looked really nice, going over Apple Park and kind of introducing us to what it looks like right now without anybody there. It's really strange, but it looked excellent on the videos. It's just amazing their campus there with that new Apple Park, and the Steve Jobs Theater looks awesome as well. It's kind of a shame that people can't really use it right now like they have in the past. So hopefully next year we'll get back to normal and be able to have actual events where there's people live at the presentation. But overall, it was interesting to see that, and really good video intro there. And so starting with the HomePod, Tim Cook came out and introduced the HomePod Mini. So we don't actually have a HomePod, but definitely more likely to get a HomePod now if we can get one for $100 versus I think it's $300 or $400 for a HomePod right now for the regular size one. So definitely at $100, that makes it much more approachable. Maybe we'll consider getting a HomePod sometime, a HomePod Mini. Because of that, really not a whole lot of new things, I don't think, announced with HomePod Mini, other than the fact that it's just cheaper and more accessible. They did do a lot of presentation on how you could use it as an intercom in your house, so that was kind of interesting. Definitely something we want to consider maybe for the future. But getting on with the star of the show, obviously the iPhone. So Apple announced the iPhone 5G network, and so it does have faster and lower latency connections, up to, it said up to 4 gigabits per second download speed and 2 megabits per second upload speed, 200 megabits upload speed in ideal conditions. So honestly, 4 gigabits per second download speed is amazing. We have 1 gigabit speed down and up at our house through fiber connection on our Wi-Fi. So that's just a really ridiculous speed, honestly. Just never really going to need that. But what that does do is in the areas that 5G is available, which supposedly is going to be all over the nation with Verizon, it would help with the bandwidth. So any extra speed that you can have helps with not taking as much of the bandwidth when you have highly populated areas, such as like sporting events. They talked about doing it in like football sporting events and having a bunch of cameras and all that stuff. So definitely going to be interesting to see how that goes, if 5G actually proves to be meaningful or not. To me, LTE is great and has plenty speed for me, but maybe it'll help with the speeds in, like I said, densely populated areas when a lot of people are trying to access the network. Also, it's supposed to be 5G is supposed to be helpful for rural areas, but honestly, I just don't see them bringing it over to areas outside of the densely populated cities and sporting events right now. So I just don't see that that's going to be that much of an advantage. But hey, I could be wrong. Maybe they will have that all over the place, like they said, and the carriers won't just completely bypass expanding that network before moving on to the next latest and greatest network that's going to just solve all of our problems. I don't know. We'll see. But so they announced the iPhone 12, and it does, in fact, have flat edges, which I am so happy about. I'm actually using my iPad right now. Has the flat edges. I love the flat edges on this device, so it feels really great. It's thin, and it's got like a nice grip to the side, so I think I'm just going to bring this exact feel to the iPhone. And so the iPhone 12 is going to have that, as well as it's going to have 5 colors. It's going to have black, white, red, green, and blue. It's going to be basically a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter, and still have a nice big screen. So they're going to have 6.1 inch screen on the iPhone 12, and then they're going to have a small iPhone 12 mini, which is going to have a 5.4 inch screen, which is honestly, that's exactly what I want. I want a smaller iPhone, but unfortunately that is the iPhone 12 mini, and there's a lot of camera improvements that you get with the Pro model, so definitely going to be a problem for me. I really want the smaller phone, but I want the best cameras. So we'll talk about that in just a minute, but it does have OLED display, 460 pixels per square inch. They did talk about a new glass screen. So the glass is supposed to be the most durable it's ever been. Of course, it's always the most durable it's ever been, but they said it's got 4 times better drop performance, and they call it ceramic shield glass. Well, I mean, better is better, right? So I hope it's better than not. So of course it's better. But we'll see how nice that is. Honestly, you'll surely see a bunch of drop tests as soon as the iPhone comes out. A lot of people will start taking their iPhones and dropping them on the ground to see how well they hold up. It's kind of sad to see devices, such expensive devices, destroyed like that, but nevertheless, it is good to know if it is in fact better performing in drops, because people drop their phones, and you don't want it to break, obviously. So they talked about the A14 Bionic chip. Obviously, it's the fastest ever. They said it was 50% faster CPU and GPU than any other smartphone. Apple's already light years ahead in the chip department, so honestly, it's no surprise that their chip is definitely the fastest of any smartphone, but it's much faster than the previous smartphones as well, I am sure. They did do a game demo, League of Legends, and then they went on to the cameras. So they talked about the dual camera on the iPhone 12 is obviously much better with night mode and time lapse. And so they're going to use much more computational photography to help out with the night mode. They're doing that on the front and the back, and as well as both cameras on the back, the ultra wide angle and the wide angle lens are both going to have that advantage for the night mode, which should be a great addition. And then also they have what they're calling MagSafe. So they're bringing back MagSafe. They used to have MagSafe connectors on their laptops, which would power the device, and then if somebody tripped over the cord, it would just pull the MagSafe power connector out rather than pulling the whole laptop off the table. Honestly, a great feature, and they should bring back MagSafe to the laptop power cords. Really, I mean, I know that they switched to USB-C, but honestly, I loved MagSafe when we had it. I mean, I don't even have a laptop now, so I just have an iPad, but still, awesome feature that they took away. But they added MagSafe to the iPhones with a charger that is basically a Qi charger that has a little magnetic ring around it that attaches to the back of the phone, so you get that nice charge in the right spot. So with Qi chargers, obviously you put your phone down, it may or may not be in the perfect spot, so it doesn't get the best charge. And sometimes I've woken up in the morning and realized I didn't have it on the charger at all, and so I didn't get any charge. So I start the day with like 30-40% charge, which is the worst. But they have fixed that with MagSafe Qi chargers, so it should lock into place where it's supposed to be to help charge that. Honestly, though, it's a little weird that it's not actually available. They did have it on the website, but it doesn't say when it's available, so I'm not really sure when that's coming. Hopefully soon, because that would be a great addition for charging. They talked about their environmental improvements and their efforts to do that, and they kind of segued into they're not including any power adapters with their iPhones this year, so they're just going to include the USB-C to Lightning cable in each box instead of having the power adapter, which kind of makes sense because most people already have the power adapters. But honestly, if it's USB-C, I don't think a lot of people do have the USB-C bricks. So I did have that with our iPhone 11 Pro models that we got last year, so it was nice to have that, and I do have that with my iPad, the USB-C connector here. But it's kind of weird that they're not going to be including them in the box, because I think a lot of people are still going to be new to having the need for a USB-C charge port. But who knows? It's still Lightning connector on the iPhone, but it's USB-C on the other end of the cable, which does allow for faster charging speeds. But it also, again, a lot of people aren't going to have the USB-C charging brick. So I think a lot of people are now using Qi chargers anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But still, I'd like to see maybe the charging, some USB-C charging bricks available this year, and maybe they drop them next year. Who knows? Anyway, and then they had the Mini with a 5.4 inch display. And then it has all the same features as the iPhone 12. So the iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 mini, awesome phones, and I would love to have that mini. But they also had the iPhone 12 Pro, which has the stainless steel bands around the side, which is awesome, obviously. And it has the triple lens camera display. So it has 3 cameras in the back plus LiDAR. And it has the front-facing camera, of course. So it has the optical zoom of 4x. Well, it said 4x range on the optical zoom, so that's a little bit weird. But the telephoto lens basically is 2 times zoom versus the wide-angle lens, and then it will do an optical zoom as well in addition to that, apparently. But it's a little strange how they said that 4 times range, optical zoom range, rather than just, really telling us how far it actually zooms. I don't think it's actually as much zoom as I was hoping for. But on the other hand, the iPhone 12 Pro Max does have more zoom range in that telephoto camera lens. So that is unfortunately one of the things that's kind of a kicker for me. It's going to have better zoom, and it also has better image stabilization. So the image stabilization is, as you know, on a lot of videos I have here, it's going to be a big deal as far as capturing the display in the Tesla when I'm driving, in addition to everything around it, simultaneously with that iPhone. So now, hopefully with that better image stabilization, it should be better at staying still within that range. So I'm really hoping that does have a big impact, but that's only available in the 6.7 inch display iPhone 12 Pro Max. Stupid names. Anyway, so I don't really want that big of a phone, but it does have the best cameras, and so that's going to be a tough call for me. Obviously, it is $100 more as well. So the iPhone 12 Pro starts at $1,000, and then the Pro Max is $1,100, and then it starts there and then goes up to $1,400 with the 512 gigabytes of storage, which I do think I'm going to opt for more storage this time. Right now we have 64 gigabytes on our iPhones, and it's really just not enough. It does start at 128 gigabytes now for the storage rather than 64, so that is better, but I definitely want to maybe kick that up a notch. Maybe I'll just go for the 256 versus the 128 base model rather than going to the 512, because 512 would be great, but it's also, we're talking $300 more, so that's a lot. So we'll have to look at that. And then, of course, it does have awesome video. It has 4K 60 frames per second. And then it has the LiDAR, helps improve it with the autofocus of the lens in night mode, especially. So they said in low light, then the autofocus is going to work a lot better with that LiDAR. So that's a great improvement. I'm very excited to try that out and use, because I use my iPhone as my main camera. I'm using it right now, obviously. So it's really the camera that I use all the time. So any improvements I can get on the camera is going to be very beneficial to me. Again, I'm just a little bit irritated by the fact that it's only the best cameras are available in the Pro Max version this year, and it's actually not available for order until November 6th, and then comes out the 13th. So that is also kind of unfortunate because it's going to be almost a month later, and it's going to cost more, and it's going to be a bigger phone than I wanted. But again, to have the best camera, that's what I want. So if you want the iPhone 12 or the iPhone 12 Pro, you can get those starting. You can pre-order this Friday for next Friday delivery, or you can wait for November 6th for the iPhone 12 mini and the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which were going to be November 6th and for pre-order, and November 13th for delivery. So Unfortunately, we do have to wait a little bit for those phones, and probably going to end up waiting for the Pro Max because, like I said, I'm looking for the best camera. It's unfortunate, but I'll just have to put up with that huge phone in my pocket. It's kind of funny because I was really excited about the iPhone 12 mini coming out because that 5.4 inch display would be awesome. Definitely a smaller phone would be great for putting in the pocket and everything and using with one hand. But again, got to take the better camera. So, and lastly, one sad note, they did not announce Touch ID in the power button. So on the new iPad that they had announced, they did have Touch ID in the power button. Was really hoping to see if they would get that in the iPhone 12s this year, but we kind of knew that, if they didn't have the technology planned out for release this year, it wasn't going to be there. But honestly, any year that would be the best year to announce that, it would have been this year because of the pandemic and the situation with wearing masks all the time. Face ID is actually quite a challenge because of that, and Touch ID would be a great improvement to kind of get past that. But nevertheless, awesome phones that they announced, of course, and very excited to get our new iPhones. And that's all they announced, just iPhones and the HomePod. So really, thankfully, maybe aside from some charging adapters that I might purchase whenever they come out, and the new iPhone, thankfully they didn't announce anything else that I just had to have. So that's a little bit better on the bank than it could have been. But great announcements, and I'm really excited to get our new phones. So let me know, what are you going to get? Are you going to get some new iPhones, or do you not even care about Apple? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.